Everyone, this is Michael Lenardi and Dr. Dean Tyson. I think we also have Deanna Laguna on the call. Deanna, can you hear us? Deanna's our hospital administrator, so hopefully she's going to jump on and join us. You know, we wanted to get everyone together because we wanted to just create a quiet space as we all go through this challenging time for us to learn and to figure out what we're up against and how we're moving through this. You know, I was watching the news the other day, and a commentator that I usually watch was being interviewed about the crisis, and it was about COVID-19 and the economy. And she said, "Here we are. It's probably not a place that any of us ever imagined we would be, but here we are." And that's our current reality. So the key to our success through this crisis is not only what we choose to do, but how we choose to do it. And Dean and I really strongly believe that we're always exactly where we're supposed to be at any given time. And we've certainly had very challenging times in our lives that we have moved through, and they were hard, but we stood up to the challenge and came out better on the other side. So when these moments happen, and we're in a pretty big moment right now, our choice is to push through it and try and survive it, or survive it and see it as an opportunity to thrive. So that's our goal for you guys tonight, is to survive it, but also thrive on the other side. Now, the reality is that we're all going to take a hit, you know, personally and professionally. Veterinary medicine is probably not going to be the same after we get through all of this, but we think the industry will change for the better. And we really believe that when we all learn from this crisis and come out on the other side, some of us might be better leaders. Some of us might be more savvy business owners. We might pay more attention to our businesses. Some will look at more innovative ways to deliver services and like what they're doing now and how we care for clients and animals. So today we wanted to kind of walk you through 5 key points that we think veterinarians and veterinary professionals need to know during this challenging time. So we're going to talk about how to get your mind in a powerful place during this crisis, how to step into the inspiring leader that your team needs you to be right now, the 3 things your client wants and needs from you now, why this is an opportunity for your practice, and then we'll talk about how you can create a 90-day action plan to not only survive, but thrive through this. So take good notes if you can. If you're driving or unable to take notes, we'll also be sending a recording playback that you can listen to again and share with colleagues who couldn't be here tonight. We know everyone's very busy, so we're going to keep this to an hour. But should you have follow-up questions, we'll make sure you have an opportunity to contact us to get those questions answered. So we wanted to do just a real quick intro to myself and Dean. Most of you know who we are, but I always like to know who's speaking, who are the people that are leading these webinars or a conference, at a conference. So very quickly, I am a business coach. My company is called Halcyon Coaching, and I work primarily with veterinarians and veterinary professionals. So my job is to go into a practice and help them understand what their current state is. So what's working well in that practice and what's not working well. And then I help them discover what their desired future state is. So how do we want to be different in 6 months or a year? And then we have to figure out how to get there and how to stay on task to get there. So I do a lot of work around communication and culture and leadership and emotional intelligence and employee engagement and conflict management and creating systems in companies so we run efficiently and smoothly. And I absolutely love what I do. I think you all do really important work in this world, so I feel very blessed to do the work I do. So I'll turn it over to Dean and let him talk a little bit about his background for you.
I'm a veterinarian just like you guys. I'm right there in the trenches this past couple of weeks and making adjustments and seeing patients and trying to be safe and trying to alleviate the fear and the anxiety that has come up with this pandemic. And at the same time, try to understand my own reaction and make sure that I'm there for our team and being the best leader that I can be. I've been in private practice for 32 years. I've been a co-owner of an 8-doctor AHA accredited mixed animal hospital for about half of that time. So I absolutely love what I do. And you know, this opportunity to work with Mike and help share some of my life experiences and insight is just another part of our career that has allowed me to give back in a way that 32 years ago I could have never actually seen myself in that position. But so, you know, it gives relevance to the things that we're talking about. And I certainly don't claim to have all the answers, but I can certainly share what my experience has been and what my approach has been. And we've worked very closely with Mike in building our team. I'm very fortunate that I have a tremendous team around me and some great leadership within that team.
Dean's going to be really helpful to give us some insight as to what we're doing through this crisis. Let me check in with Deanna. Deanna, are you on board? Deanna is our hospital administrator, so hopefully she'll jump on and chime in. So let's jump into the content. So the first key point we wanted to talk about is mindset. The challenge that we're all facing right now is we're in this place of unknown. So we don't know how long it's going to take to contain this virus. We don't know when we can get back to normal operations. We don't know how long it will take for our economy to recover and for our revenue to get back to where it was. So this unknown creates a lot of anxiety and fears and stress and anger and confusion. And those feelings are very real. So what we need to do is acknowledge those feelings and actually embrace those feelings. And we need to sit with them, but it's critical that we don't sit with them too long because we got a lot of work to do. You know, this is changing day by day. We just we're on the eastern shore of Maryland, and we just heard that we're on curfew after 8 o'clock tonight, so we can't go out of the house. So things are changing daily that we need to respond to. So we need to accept those feelings because they are real, but put a short time limit on them, and then move on quickly and get our minds to a much better place. Dean and I had those feelings two weekends ago when this all sort of erupted. We sat around the house and we had all the fear and all the anger and all the stress, and we're yelling at each other. And it was just something that we had to go through. And we were scared about our business. We were scared about our personal finances. Dean's elected to not get a paycheck. So I was on this track to go into pre-retirement this year, and now I have to ramp my business back up, and I'm happy to do that. But we all have to pivot in this moment. And I'll say that word a lot through this call. We have to pivot quickly so we can change and be successful. So, we sat around all weekend, we talked about the businesses, and we looked at our household expenses and our investments, and we're watching those go down as well. So we sat with those feelings, and then we said, okay, we got to do something. We got to snap out of this and get to a more positive place in our heads. So the crisis has really caused us to really change quickly, and we all have to adapt quickly and get our minds to a really good place. So I want to say that the one thing that we do have control in all of this crisis is our minds. We get to decide how we think. We get to decide how we show up, how we respond, how we react or not. And we wanted to give you some daily exercises to help you get your mind to a good place. So one thing I do every morning is I call it my slow entry to the day. So I get up very early, I make a cup of tea, I go outside, and we're very fortunate to live on the water, and I love the water. It's very calming to me. And I use that very peaceful time to watch the sun come up and think about all the things I'm grateful for. So I'm grateful for our health, grateful for our businesses and the work that we love to do. I'm grateful for our team, for our families, for this beautiful place where we live. So lots to be grateful for. And that takes about 5-10 minutes. And then at the end, I set an intention for the day. So my intention today was to come here and give you some good content, some good value for your time. So hopefully you can take this back and help to move through this crisis in your practice. So that's something very easy you can do each morning. Just take about 5 minutes and start your day with gratitude, because whatever's happening, we always have something to be grateful for. The second thing we want to talk to you about to get your mind in a good place is to ask powerful questions. Many of us are asking ourselves disempowering questions right now. So we're saying that to ourselves, we're saying that to our teams. So a disempowering question is something like, why is this happening to me? Why didn't I plan for a disaster like this? How will I ever recover from this? These are questions that really bring the energy down and take us to a negative place. So if we pivot and shift to a more empowering question, they may sound like this. And you might want to write these down. So how do I have to be different to help my team and my clients in this crisis? How do I have to be different to help my team and my clients in this crisis? What would give me and my team more clarity during this challenging time? What would give me and my team more clarity during this challenging time? What am I learning about myself and my team? And this is an important question. How will I know that we're moving forward? Because what's going to happen is you're going to focus on the 85 things that aren't going well, and instead of the 3 things that you've done really well. So what I always talk about is look for evidence of change. So look for the things that are going well and look for the steps that you took to create them to go well. So always focus on those. So when you ask a more empowering question, your whole outlook changes. You start to shift from doom and gloom to, I got this, we can do this, and we'll be okay. There's a really great quote that says, when you can't control what's happening, challenge yourself to control the way you respond to what's happening. That's where the power is. So I want you to focus on how can I pivot my mind? How can I get my mind to a better place? And that's going to change everything about how you respond to this crisis. All right, the second key point that we want to talk about is leadership. So how do you step into the powerful leader that your team needs you to be? Now, we know what a lot of you are probably saying right now. You're saying, guys, I can't I can't afford to take the time to hone my leadership skills right now. I'm just trying to survive. And we get that. We're all in the same boat. But what we would say to you is this: you can't afford not to do this now, because your team needs you. They need you now more than ever. We're feeling those feelings of anger and frustration and angst, and the team is also afraid. They're feeling anxious. They're feeling angry. They're scared. They're not sure how they're going to pay their rent or put food on the table. So they need us to really step into that role. So a good leader does two things. A good leader influences and inspires people. So Deanna, I see that you're on the call. Can you hear us? Can you unmute?
I can hear you. Can you hear me
Yes,
Yeah.
we can.
clearly?
Deanna is our
Yeah.
hospital administrator, and she is doing a phenomenal job of leading our team through this crisis. And the other day, she reached out to Dean and his co-owner, Dr. Callahan, and our medical director, Dr. Bruce, and said, guys, I really need some kind of inspirational message for the team, because the team, I believe, and Deanna, you can chime in, please. I think they were at a very heightened place of anxiety. Would that be correct, Deanna?
Absolutely. I think, they want to be in the know as much as possible, and as not having those answers at all, I think added to that. But also the direction that we were giving was very factual information. And it's more like, okay, we're not doing CE allotments, we're cutting hours, just boom, 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 with a lot of maybe not the most positive information.
Mm-hmm.
And so we really had to immediately start to balance that. Yes, we need to make sure that you know about what's going on in the practice, but also giving them some motivation and, that it's not all doomsday, and that we do have a plan as a business. I think that's important. I know with me, when I was given a plan, a financial plan, that made me feel at peace right away, that I can keep moving ahead. There's a plan in place that if things got really bad, we already know where our money is, where it needs to go, and how long we can sustain ourselves. And for me, that information was extremely helpful to continue to lead the team, that we're going to get through this. This is the revenue we need to achieve. So they're really involved in the business aspect of it, which I think helps them understand how these things may affect them, because you're being honest, you're being forward, and you're involving them in the business plan. So I think that was helpful, but then also giving them positive quotes in the morning, ways that we can support each other now that the team is split up into two. Those were things that I noticed when we gave that information out. Dr. Tyson put a nice kind of uplifting bulletin to the team. And then Dr. Callahan followed up with a in-hospital team huddle, and I got a lot of praise from the staff saying they really needed that. And they were just simple statements of reassurance, but it meant the world to them to kind of put some of those fears, not all of them, but some of those fears of, am I going to get laid off next week? How long is this going to happen? What is the finances of the company? Do I have any sense of job security? Those are all the things that, whether they come to you and express that, those are things that are going on in people's heads. Of course, they go on in my head as well. So once we disseminated that information, and now getting lunch from the reps to be, bought next week, was also just a nice little, hey, you're doing a great job. We're going to feed you today. You don't have to run out to the hospital and try to get a lunch break. Just taking those small little acts of kindness, I think, make a world of difference with all the scary, negative information that's being put out right now.
Mm. Well, Deanna, you're doing a phenomenal job, as I said. We're lucky to have you through this crisis. So I wanted Dean to just read the memo that you guys sent out to the team, just to give people an idea of what we said in the memo.
And it's nothing complicated, but it's, it's from the heart. And I'll just read what I sent out to the team. I said, we are here. Not a place that any of us ever imagined, but we are here. This is our new normal, and I believe that we can not only survive this crisis, but thrive and come out stronger on the other side. We are all experiencing the same feelings of fear, anxiety, and anger. These feelings come from a place of uncertainty. We don't know how long the crisis will continue. We don't know how long it will take for the economy to recover. What we do know is that we're an incredibly strong team who work together and support each other to continue to do this great work that we do, taking care of our clients and the wonderful animals that we serve. Our priorities are to take care of our team, take care of our clients, and keep the business viable. We will all be asked to make sacrifices during this time, but we will be stronger and better on the other end. We know that it may be a bit confusing. Systems and protocols are changing day by day as we respond to the COVID-19 virus and the changes in the state guidelines. Please be patient. We all make mistakes. We are in uncharted territory, but this crisis will pass. Let's look at this as an opportunity to continue to learn, to grow, and to possibly improve the way we serve our clients.
Great, thank you. So as Deanna said, what our teams need from us now is they need communication, daily if needed or weekly. They want you to be informed, to gather the facts, to surround yourself with people who can support you as you lead the team. They need you to be calm and strong. If you come in there frantic and just lots of anxiety, that's going to permeate right through the practice. They want you to be transparent with them. Just admit that you may not have all the answers at this moment, but you're working hard to get those answers. They want to know that they are part of the solution, that you'll hear their ideas. And they want you to give them hope, as we just talked about. I always use the analogy of a boat. We're all in this boat together. And there is this vision that's out there on the horizon. And the vision that is usually a similar vision for all practices is that we want to create this incredible, healthy, wonderful environment for people to have the tools and training to do their best work, and for the doctors to practice great medicine. And if we can do that, if we can allow them to do their best work, they'll be the best for themselves, best for each other, best for the clients, and ultimately for the animals that we serve. And then we'll have a profitable, viable business. So the vision isn't changing here. The vision is staying the same, but our boat is way off course. This crisis is just taking us off course, and we've got to work hard to get back on course and stay true to that vision. So I just want to give you a couple tips for leadership. The first tip is you got to check yourself at the door. So before you walk into your practice, sit in your car for a few minutes. Get your head in the right space and walk in there and be there for your team. We all bring a certain energy when we walk into a space. That energy could be a low energy, it could be a negative energy, or it could be a great energy of hope and a positive energy. So think about what you are bringing into the space. The second thing is what I think is critical right now is huddles. When I work with practices, we always are asked to kind of help with communication. And I always suggest huddles. And I definitely get a lot of pushback from people when I ask them to come together before their shift and kind of talk about what's coming up that day and how we can support each other. They always say, I don't have enough time. It's really hard to get people together. But the practices that I work with that have initiated huddles are being very, very successful. And they're communicating really well. So I wanted Dean just to kind of share our experience with huddles and how it's really supporting us as we go through this crisis.
Huddles were something that we were trying to institute probably for a year. And we just struggled getting any traction with them because of all the things that Mike said. You know, we're too busy. There wasn't a good time. Everybody wasn't there. But we made the commitment several months ago to start with these huddles just to make them a habit. Let's just get everybody in the same place to come up with our game plan for the day. And it started out with just talking about, you know, what nuances might be different that day. We evolved into something in the last couple of months where we worked towards, as a team, one, sharing something that we were all thankful for, which was very enlightening for me, but also enlightening for the rest of the team. You sometimes don't realize the things that other people are going through and the things that they're thankful for. And then it also helps to allow you to set an intention for the day. And that, you know, by starting out with the things that you're thankful for and appreciate, then you're focusing more on the good rather than the one mean dog that's going to be coming in that's going to need to be muzzled or need all hands on deck. And so what I've noticed in the last couple of weeks is the energy in those huddles has changed. And I think the energy has changed because we're suddenly, our routine has changed completely. Every day there's new changes. Every day there's new fear and anxiety about the risks that we are going through, exposing ourselves in an effort to try to help people and animals. So it's been an opportunity for us to communicate some of the changes, the why, and given the team an opportunity to, again, come together and realize that we're all in this together. Deanna has been coming to a lot of the huddles and was a big part of the one this morning. Do you have anything you want to share with your take on those?
No, other than it's just a great platform to, especially during something like a pandemic, to sorry, to discuss these things, because you have at least those team members in front of you face to face, again, trying to keep 6 feet away from each other now. But no, I think there are always great opportunities to communicate the day ahead and even maybe certain things that are changing. But in this climate, it's absolutely crucial. And I appreciate those huddles even more because it gives the team members an opportunity also to ask questions. So it can be a back and forth versus, you know, our other ways of communications through bulletins. So they're getting them in an email. There's not that opportunity to necessarily with ease respond back and forth and have a actual conversation. And right now, I think I've had to actually clarify things that we've disseminated over bulletins in face during those huddles. So I think they're crucial. And if you didn't have huddles going on prior to this, this would be a great reason to demand those huddles to actually become part of the hospital culture. And then once the pandemic's over, you can continue that way of communicating the challenges the day may be faced, or also positive things. Huddles absolutely can be, you know, yes, we can talk about business and operations and what's going on today and with this client, with this patient, but even more important to, you know, share the positives with the team because we are problem solvers by nature. That's what we all do at almost all levels of staff. We solve problems throughout the day. So it's nice to kind of stop for a minute and appreciate each other and the small things and stopping to think about what you're grateful for because it's so easy to get stuck on all the negativity.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Thanks, Deanna.
Absolutely.
All right, let's jump into the third piece that we wanted to talk about. The 3 things your clients want now. So you and your team are experiencing a lot of these feelings, but so are your clients. Many are having to shelter in place. I just mentioned in our place here in Maryland, we're having a curfew tonight. We can't go out. Many have been furloughed. They're watching the economy. So what do they want from you right now? So if we were to step into their shoes, they want to know that their vet is there for them if their animal is sick or has an emergency. They need that peace of mind right now because they're home with their animals all day now. For those of us who are doing like curbside check-in and pickup, they need to know that they are being kept safe, that our team is taking every precaution to keep them safe from this horrible virus. Our clients want to know that our team is being kept safe. You know, our clients really love our team. They love our doctors, they love our team. So they're worried about us. They're really home thinking about us and making sure that we're okay. They want to know that the practice will still be around when all this is over, so they can continue to take care of them and their animals. I was thinking today about, I like my doctor, I like my dentist, I like my physical therapist, and I hope they're there at the end of this. You know, I want them to survive this and thrive through this, because they're a part of the team that keeps me healthy. So your clients are thinking the same thing about you and your practice. So these needs and wants are all really heightened right now because they are home. They're spending a great deal of time thinking, and they're with their animals that they love. So the action step is to look at how you're communicating these needs and wants with your clients. And everyone is online now. They're just sitting home stir crazy. So they're on the internet, they're on Facebook. They want to see you and your team, and they want to hear from you. So I wanted Dean and Deanna, you can chime in as well, just to share how we're communicating with our clients through this crisis.
I'll let Deanna go first.
Oh, how fun. Well, just like with your staff, I think you got to over communicate. With us, we've made changes. It feels like on a daily basis, just responding to, you know, what we're being advised to do, but also by having our meetings and just hashing out things that may not be straightforward, in my opinion. You know, we said no grooming appointments and, you know, anal glands. Well, then what happens with pets that need those anal gland expressions? So there was a lot of things to talk through and work out. And once we did that, the next step is, of course, you have to share that with your teams. Well, as of last week, we split into 2 different teams. So one team I'm not even on. So to actually lead them and to direct them and to disseminate information now is crucial, that it's almost constant. And what I'm learning these last 2 weeks with communicating virtually, whether it's over chat, text, email, or bulletin posts, that doing it in small chunks allows people to actually digest that information. So what I was doing was sending out these long posts that talked about multiple things, whether it was operational changes, curbside visit, staffing changes, breaking into teams. And I noticed when I'd come in, I was noticing a disconnect between that information and team members actually really receiving it and digesting it. And so what I'm starting to change now is taking that information, especially if it's a lot, and chunking it into subject matters. So if it's operations, so curbside visit, or client centered changes, that I'm actually posting it as just that, and then doing a separate post maybe a few hours later with information about their staff schedules changing. So I've already done a few of those and noticed that people are actually getting that information accurately and clearly versus saying, oh, I didn't understand that we were stopping to do this and now we're doing this. So I think over communication is crucial. We have a fairly large team, so it's especially now, again, being split into 2 teams. So communication by phone. We're setting up meetings virtually this week with our leadership team so we can still stay connected that way. I also think bulletins and huddles, which, funny enough for us, we started doing parking lot huddles during all of this. So when the second team arrives, we've actually stood on the other side of the parking lot while they all kind of communicated what cases we need to pass off, almost like you're rounding your patient caseload, but instead we were doing outside, which I thought was very good. It was a beautiful day. It was a great opportunity for the team to breathe in some fresh air and just get out of those walls of the practice, all that stress that, you know, the burden of having to kind of have those answers for clients, because that's what clients are asking for, is that information. And when it's changing daily, you can imagine that extra stress it's bringing to those team members at the front lines. So I think you can't really over communicate at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So the things that we've done to stay in touch with our clients, do you want to talk about that, or do you want me to?
Yeah, well, we've done Facebook, and same thing, chunk it out instead of one big long bulletin, email blasts, website updates. If you have other social media platforms, Twitter and Instagram would probably be one area that I would post. And if you're doing full curbside, signs on the door that explain hospital phone number on the door. Don't assume people actually have your phone number, or make them look you up on their phone. Have that phone number listed out on the front door, I think, is crucial. New business hours posted on the front door as well would probably be helpful. But again, I think communicating on all the platforms you have access to, and any new platforms that you need to put in place to be able to communicate with your clients directly and as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I think that connection to our clients, the powerful thing for me was we posted something on Facebook to just say, show us the last picture you took of your pet. And it was like 200 pictures in what, less than an hour? I mean, it was amazing the number of people that are sitting home with their pets. And so it's a powerful way to stay connected, and it doesn't have to be all about updates and, you know, all the things that everybody is getting bombarded with. It's sometimes nice to see that, hey, we're still connected, we're still here, we're all sitting home with our pets, and it just helps to keep that connection, which I think is something that clients want right now.
Yeah, and I think any kind of video so they can see you. Chip Beckett's on the call. I work with Chip and his team up in Connecticut, and one of Chip's doctors, Dr. Stephanie, did a really great video of just that we're still here. This is what we're doing. This is how we're continuing to serve you. And the team was sort of in the background behind her. It was really quite well done. So
6 feet apart.
6 feet apart, exactly. So Chip, very well done. And that's what they want to see. They want to see that you guys are okay. They want to know what your strategy is to take care of them and to also keep yourself safe and to move through this. So I would encourage you to do a video if you haven't done that. So the key point here is to up your game for your online presence right now. And if you don't know how to do that, if you don't know have someone to help you, just get some outside help. It's really going to be an important piece right now. So let's jump into number 4. Why is this an opportunity for your practice right now? When we talk about opportunity, we're not asking you to disregard the obvious and say everything is going to be wonderful and happy and rosy. It's not about that. The reality is that we're all in this survival mode in our practices, in our country, and in our world. But there is opportunity for you. One of the opportunities is we're all being pushed out of our comfort zone. And we believe there's great value in that, because many of us may have been just kind of coasting in our practices. You know, the business was okay, it wasn't great, but it was okay, and we're doing good work, it's okay work. So some people were sort of comfortable in their uncomfortable place, if that makes any sense. So when you're pushed out of your comfort zone, that's how you grow and become better. One of my coaches, who was very influential in my business very early on, said to me once, she said, "Michael, I am uncomfortable every single day in my business. And it might be 5 minutes, it might be 2 hours, but that's how I know I'm growing and pushing myself to be my best." And she is an incredibly successful businesswoman. So don't be afraid of this discomfort. Embrace it as something that's going to be great for you in the future. And now you also have to be innovative and learn new ways of delivering your services. We talked about curbside check-in. A lot of you are doing telemedicine now because that makes perfect sense. Deanna just mentioned that larger practices are looking at the team approach to minimize exposure. And electronic records are coming in handy big right now. So those practices who have sort of pushed back from not switching from paper to electronics, this is a good scenario to get you on board with electronic records. So Dean will share more about this when we look at the 90-day plan, but another opportunity is to really exceed our clients' expectations and build their loyalty. So the practices that move through this crisis well are the ones that will not only retain their clients, but improve their clients' loyalty. And it's unfortunate, but some practices may lose clients over this because they haven't taken a good approach to how to move through this crisis. Some of their teams might be frantic. Maybe they haven't communicated well. And those clients might go to other practices who have it more together. So I wanted Dean to talk a little bit about the team, and maybe Deanna can chime in as well, because this is an opportunity to really observe your team as you move through this.
I think, when I'm looking for opportunities in a crisis, I'm looking at, our team, meaning the people who are there on the team, who's really stepping up and who's embracing those challenges, and, who's really in the boat and picking up an oar versus, doing their own thing. So it's a time for observation. It's a time for, looking at your people. It's also a time to look at your workflow, look at your systems, look at your efficiencies, things that you've always done. All of a sudden, we're doing them differently. And so is there opportunity to continue to do them in a more efficient way with maybe fewer staff or, changing your workflow? So, when we get pushed into these things that we sometimes don't have any control over, we start to look for opportunities. And I think some of it goes back to what we were talking about initially, which was mindset. You have to be in a different mindset to look at a situation, say, where are the opportunities? And I think if you look in your individual practices, you're going to find that there's lots of opportunities to reevaluate. Maybe now isn't the time that you're doing them, but take note of them and embrace them. Deanna, do you have any observations that you want to share?
I think, when we're talking about team and you're talking about observing, I think for me, it feels like I haven't even had a chance to think without interruption for almost a full 2 weeks span. Even when I'm home, I'm working. So, but I will say, oddly enough, because normally I am an observer, there are weaknesses on the team and just little pockets of weaknesses that was observed prior, but now are way more on my radar during this crisis. And I think it's because sometimes and even I fall victim to this, where you just give somebody a lot of opportunity to improve. And then when a moment like this happens, where you really need everybody to be, like you said, rowing in that same direction, you really feel that person who's not rowing right there with you. And so for me, it's just an observation and an absolute takeaway that I plan on acting upon after this is over, because I know who I want in that boat with me even more now, more than ever, when it comes to team members. But outside of that, I think it's absolutely imperative that you do take this as an opportunity. We sat on our telehealth platform for I don't know how long, but now we're doing it, and we're doing it well. And we've had some road bumps, but it's forced us to implement something that maybe we would have otherwise overthought. And so the other takeaway for me is the ability for our team to adapt. Just really, sometimes I would always say, well, the team's not ready for this yet. They need a few more months. They're just not ready. This is too big of a change. When really they have it in them to adapt and to adapt quickly. And that is a big takeaway from all of this, that I can say our team absolutely has that in them to adapt quickly with very little clarity, maybe. And so that makes me very proud, and something that I know now I won't be so afraid of implementing change for our team specifically.
Yeah.
Good observations, Deanna. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, let's jump into the last key point, which is our 90-day action plan. So whenever I support practices, I help them do a strategic plan, and we usually do that in the fall. And in strategic planning, we always look at 4 areas, and that's finance, clients, team, how the team learns and grows, and systems, the internal business processes. So that strategic plan is great, and Deanna now takes charge of that, and she runs our quarterly update meetings here at the house. We get our leadership team to come here for the day, and she does a wonderful job of facilitating that and keeping us updated and looking at metrics and where we are and where we need to shift. Because strategic plans have to be fluid, because things come up. So something came up that was pretty big a few weeks ago. So we had to pivot really, really fast. So even though that strategic plan is there, we had to shift a little bit away from that. And now what we've needed to do is focus on more of a 90-day plan. And when I talk about 90-day plans, it's more about your priorities. So what are the big rocks that you need to focus on for the next 90 days? What are the things that you need to do to not only survive, but set your practice up to thrive as you move through this? And then at the end of those 90 days, you may have to set another set of goals for the next 90 days. So the vision is still there. Those 4 areas are still there, but we need to focus on what are the things that we really, really have to do to get past this, to get through this. So I wanted Dean to talk about the big rocks, and Deanna, please chime in as well. What are the things that we're focusing on as we move through this crisis? What are our big rocks and our priorities?
I think the biggest thing that came up for me was we needed to change how we communicate. Up until this past week, Dr. Callahan, myself, and Deanna would have a 2-hour meeting every Tuesday morning from 7 till 9. We've done that for years, and it allows us to stay on track, deal with things that may have come up during that week, but also focus on things that help move us forward in the practice to be proactive. With the current landscape, it was impossible to keep up with the daily changes. And so we've made the commitment to meet every day at 7 o'clock in the morning. And the hope is they're not going to be as long of meetings, but it gives us an opportunity to communicate better so that we're sending a unified message out to the team, and that we're able to collaborate and deal with the challenges that we're having. And so we started that this week, and of course, what's today, Monday? So it worked well, but I think moving forward, I think we're going to see big changes. I think the other thing is, protecting our team, keeping them safe. There's, obviously limitations on PPEs and, when to do this, but a lot of it's educating and making sure that we've got hand sanitizers and that we're washing our hands and we're not touching our faces, and that we're taking all the precautions we can to protect ourselves. That's obviously very important. It's something that I think was important before, but we never talked about it. And so now it's in the forefront, like keeping that team healthy and keeping them safe. At the same time, we're still trying to serve clients. You know, the really talking about and communicating, you know, what is a emergency or an urgent care, what needs to be seen now versus if it can be put off for 3 months and there's really no detrimental effect to that animal. That's kind of the direction that we're taking right now. And that limits traffic into the hospital, limits the people coming in for kind of non-urgent procedures. I think that's something that we have to constantly look at. And I feel like there's always some exception to the rule. So talking about those things so that the team is able to give a clear message. I think those are things to, you know, make sure your team's not getting confused and getting mixed signals. You know, maintaining revenue. I mean, what are the things that we can do that can maintain revenue? Obviously, we've had to make a lot of cutbacks, but then where are the opportunities, such as telehealth, such as you know, reaching out to clients that maybe we're due for a recheck and pushing them towards a telehealth consult rather than having them just fall through the cracks. I think those are opportunities, again, that we can look at, but I think it's going to be different for every practice. We're a mixed animal practice, so a lot of our equine has remained fairly strong, and that's been very helpful. And then I think the other thing is doing the best you can to forecast the future. You know, because things are changing daily, you do have to ask yourself the what ifs. You know, our practice is on the Eastern Shore of Maryland. I know that in Delaware and New Jersey, veterinary hospitals were, and I don't know the dynamic, whether they were forced to or encouraged to, you know, donate all of their personal protective equipment, anesthesia machines, ventilators, all of those things. I mean, so we do have to ask ourselves the what if. You know, things that we've already been navigating, like drug shortages and anticipating that propofol is, you know, going to be going on back order, you know, all of those things. How do we adjust our anesthetic protocols? These are all things that we have to look at that, you know, they were taken care of before. Now they suddenly become into our 90-day plan. We have to adjust anesthetic protocols, adjust some of these services that we provide based on the changing landscape. So those are things that I'm thinking of. Deanna, do you have any other insight?
No, not at all.
No.
Do you want to mention this?
One thing that I do want to share that I found particularly powerful, and it was a video that we shared with the team, and it's called Protecting Your Family from COVID-19 by Dr. David Price. And he is a physician in New York City, in one of the big prestigious hospitals that, you know, was a full service hospital doing everything from lung transplants to, you know, like I said, a full service hospital that now I think is 12,000 beds and every patient is a COVID-19 patient. And so he was sharing some of the things that we can do to prevent the spread and prevent us from sharing it with the family, because they're on the front lines. They have limited PPE. And he said two very powerful things. And I would encourage you to watch the video. The video is about an hour long. If you watch the first 20 minutes, you'll get the clear message. And the message is, you know, this is a virus that's very easy to kill. You know, it's not a super bug. It's not doing crazy things that other coronaviruses do. It has a lipid layer on it. It's very susceptible to alcohol, to soap, to heat. All of those things make it an easy virus to get rid of. But it's only going to enter your body through your mucous membranes of your mouth, your nose, and your eyes. And so the biggest thing is don't touch your face. You become, in his words, a hand Nazi. Remember where your hands are all the time, because that's how you're going to spread that virus into your body. You still do hand sanitizers every time you touch the elevator button or open a door or have contact that's going to risk exposure. But there's really very little risk in his mind for the aerosolization. There's times where they put on their full PPE, but it's if they're doing a procedure that is likely to induce coughing and choking on that patient. And so they're protecting themselves. They also talk about ways to, if you have a family member living in your home that has COVID-19 and you're trying to keep others from getting the virus. And so I think what it did for me was it took and gave us control. This is something that we can do. We can become hand Nazis. We can stop touching our face. We can make sure that we're washing our hands. We can control that virus getting into our bodies. And I think up until that, there was just a lot of fear and anxiety. Like, we're trying to do everything. We don't have enough things to fully protect ourselves. Well, there are things that we can take control of, and don't touch your face is one of them. So.
Great, thank you. So what we want to make sure you do is, if you haven't done it already, is sit down with your team, your leadership team, and just come up with those big rocks for the next 90 days and focus on how you're going to achieve those tasks. So we're coming to the top of the hour. We know you guys have had a long day. We just wanted to wrap up. Dean and I have always had support in our lives, in our businesses. We've had coaches, mentors, colleagues who have guided us, and those people continue to guide us today. So we wanted to offer you all some additional support. If you'd like to talk to us in more detail, one-on-one, we've set up some free 20-minute strategy sessions on the phone where we'll be happy to kind of brainstorm and just talk about your business and what you're going through. So we're going to be sending a link with the recording to get into that calendar to sign up for a slot. But the link is veterinaryassociatesuccess.com/thrive/. veterinaryassociatesuccess.com/thrive/. So just go to this link and sign up for a slot on our calendar, and we've got these set up for the next 2 weeks. So I want to just finish with this. It's really important that you all know that as veterinarians and veterinary professionals, you do powerful, important work in this world. And we are a resilient bunch of people. And we will get through this, and we will be better on the other side. So thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. Hopefully we've given you some good information to think about. So have a good night.
Thanks for joining us, and be safe out there.
Thanks, Deanna.
Thank you.
Good night.
Night.
Good night.